Let's get into it.
Let's go.
This is the episode.
It's that quick already?
Yeah, man, we're rolling, Dale.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
George is me, Scott Sunderwald, as always.
Yeah, I am so stoked here, George. We have bushcraft celebrity with us here tonight.
Yeah.
So you bought the Bowmore 12 years for the moment.
Yeah.
So fantastic. We've got Dale Kiselyk with us here tonight, and I've been wanting to have Dale on this show for a long, long time. Dale, we actually bumped into each other, I think in 2019 at a global bushcraft convention, and then it turns out that you and I have a common friend, James Verhoel. Shout out to James, hunting buddy that we both share, and so much in common, and we're pumped that you're here. I'm going to give a little bio, and then we're going to dive into some really fun stories tonight and some really high-end bushcraft survival talk. So stay tuned, folks. So Dale is an expert in wilderness survival, bushcraft, canoeing, wildlife tracking. He holds a level 3 track and sign specialist from Tracker Evaluation. He honed his skills with big names like Mors Kochanski. If you're in the bushcraft world, that name's big. Tom Brown Jr. from New Jersey, correct? And certified canoe guide, licensed hunting guide, search and rescue team member. And he founded Nature Alive Adventures, where he teaches world-class bushcraft courses, guided trips, survival training. Dale and his wife Colleen have been organizing the Global Bushcraft Symposium in 2019, and we've got a new one coming up in 2028, which I hope to chat about here as well. And if that weren't enough, Dale is also featured in a big TV series called 72 Hours to Survive, which we think is going to go viral here pretty soon. He also does mountaineering, backcountry skiing, climbing, and multi-day expeditions in the Canadian Rockies. So welcome here, Dale. You're just the kind of guy we love on this show. I feel like I could sit here all night with you and chat about this stuff. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, cool. I feel like it's overdue, right?
Yeah.
So when we met a few years ago, ever since I've been following you and your posts, and I just want to say thanks. I really appreciate all the stuff you're doing out there. So sometimes I'm envious, honestly. 'Cause I love to see the way your fishing posts, some of your hunting posts. I'm like, man, you've got time. It seems you're getting out there a lot and doing stuff, and yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
living the lifestyle, man. You made a career of it, so
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
George, you're the key interviewer here. Where do you want to
Well,
start?
it's like, where are you based from, Dale? Like, where are you starting? Where are you from?
Starting or from?
Well, I mean, like, you're based right now. Like, where are you from?
Sure. Right now, I'm from Goose Lake, Alberta.
Okay.
So where's Goose Lake? Goose Lake, Alberta. 2.5 hours northwest of Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's between Fort Assiniboine and Whitecourt, kind of near the Athabasca River.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
in an odd sort of way, the Athabasca River has been tied, or I've been tied to the Athabasca River ever since I was a kid. So I grew up in the town of Athabasca,
Yeah.
swam in the Athabasca, fished in the Athabasca, and now I ended up living back close to it again, and we do a lot of canoeing programs on it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I've climbed Mount Athabasca in my 20s.
Oh,
I
yeah.
went to the top of Mount
Wow,
Mount
that's a big one, man.
Athabasca, so, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, and we've got a quarter section there, and nicely tucked in the woods.
So tell us about the growing up years. How many siblings? Were you on a farm? Just in town? Like, how did you get plugged into this whole bushcraft, survival, wilderness living?
Yeah, good. That's a good question. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, as to why I turned out the way I did, and I look back and I've actually been able to isolate it into a few things. Influence of my parents and my brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the big things, and then also the landscape that I lived in. Right, so mom and dad, I don't think they really knew they were raising like a nature kid.
Mm-hmm.
But they just kind of did anyways. My dad in his quiet kind of way, fishing and hunting and, just taking me out all the time. He never really taught or anything. He just kind of did, and I just tagged along. It was kind of his method. But then there was my mom. She she put everything nature in front of me, right? So she filled our house with nature programs, and we'd listen to whale sounds on the record player. She got me like Boy's Life magazine and Canadian Geographic, and she put on all the TV shows that were about nature. Remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Grizzly Adams, those kinds of
Oh
things,
yeah,
right?
Jeremiah Johnson.
Yeah, so we are always exposed to that, or I was always exposed to that. And the other thing she did that I'm really proud of my mother for is she was really good at dragging me through all my senses into the outside, right? So she did it simply, and I don't think intentionally, but she would say, as I'd come upstairs in the morning for breakfast or whatever, she'd say, look at the sunrise, just look at that. And she'd say, just listen to the birds singing out there, you know, or just taste those carrots out of the garden, right? Like she was always pointing out stuff that was happening outside.
Yeah.
And bringing my attention to it, right?
Yeah,
and,
I like that.
I didn't realize it, but it was really soaking in, I guess. And so it was those two, my mom and dad, and then my brother was big into hunting and fishing, and he'd take me out to these little places around the house, and one in particular was called Squirrel Town, and it was near our house. You could walk to it. I was a little guy, and he was an older teenager already. And he took me up there with a 22, you know, we took some food and he lit a fire and we shot the 22, right? It was like this epic thing for a little kid my age, right? And he said, yeah, we're going to Squirrel Town. And that's kind of where I learned about the importance of naming nature places, right? So he told me, yeah, this place is called Squirrel Town and there's lots of squirrels living there. And he started pointing those things out to me. And then later on, he and my other brother, they said, have you been up to Pirates Hill yet? And of course, as a kid, I'm like, Pirates Hill? Oh, yeah. There's a Pirates Hill? And it turns out it was a few hundred yards from my house, right?
Yeah.
And so I covered that hill top to bottom and played there, right? And I went on to name my own places. The Island, the Frog Pond, the Beaver Pond, Spruce Grove, and on, right?
So connection with the land.
Connection with the land.
Making sure that you're part of it. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned hunting and fishing. Did you guys grow up with wild game, fish on the table? Was that something you did?
Yeah, fish
deer,
on the
moose,
table.
elk.
Yeah, not so much deer. It was mostly moose back then. It was a general tag and easier to get. And even my dad always used to say when he was growing up that there really weren't deer around. Yeah. Right? The deer kind of have moved north through the province, right?
Especially whitetail.
When he was growing up, it was mostly moose that they hunt, right? So that was kind of it. So yeah, we had moose meat on the table and lots of fish. My dad was known and respected as a local fisherman.
Was that pike, walleye? What were you mostly?
Yeah, pike, walleye, and perch.
And perch.
In the lakes and the river around. So,
Did you have much for trout there, or that?
No, not really. There was a couple little places to go, but we didn't go there much. So mostly pike, walleye, and perch. In fact, when I was in college, my mom used to take milk cartons and freeze perch fillets in water inside the milk cartons.
Oh yeah.
And she'd wrap them in newspaper.
Yeah.
And send them on the bus to me in college.
For real? That's great.
And I'd eat them at college, right?
Yeah.
We always had that.
Oh, perch is
fresh fish.
fantastic. They're little miniature walleye. I look at them.
Yeah. And I remember catching like 5-gallon pails full of perch, right? Like, you know what it was like back then. This would have been the 70s, right?
Yeah.
1970s. And a lot of the lakes then that I remember were an effort to get to. So you either needed a 4x4 or you needed to drag a boat in. There was one lake that we went to that you had to put in a creek and then navigate the creek and then get out onto the lake to fish. Yeah. And it was a small, slow-moving creek. And as a kid, I remember sitting on the bow of my dad's boat and he's like, you got to watch for the logs for me, and I'll tilt the motor up so we don't hit the logs. And I was like, yes, I got a job. And I used to imagine it was the Florida Everglades, right? That's what I felt like. And the logs were alligators.
Oh, yeah.
So
Did
So,
you do
yeah.
much river fishing at all there?
Yeah, right under the bridge.
Yeah.
And right just down from our house, there was a creek called Muskeg Creek,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my playground. And it poured into the Athabasca River right there, and I swam there lots. And Dad would go fishing there, and there was a little rocky shoal, and he'd go out in his hip waders,
Yeah.
and he'd just cast, put a bobber about 3 feet up, and he'd cast with jigs, usually yellow jigs, sometimes spoons. And he'd just throw it out into the rapids and let it drift around, and bam, he'd get those hits.
And pike as well?
Pike and
walleye?
walleye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else in the river there, or that was primarily what
That's
was there?
primarily what we pulled up.
Yeah.
There are other fish, but
Yeah.
the style of fishing Dad used, that was predominantly what he caught.
Yeah.
We'd catch the odd sucker. We just
Sucker,
called them
of course.
suckers.
I used to
Yeah.
eat those as a kid, pull them out of the Red River, and
Yeah,
we didn't know any better, so we didn't throw them back, we ate them.
Yeah. yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always say if you run a sucker through the smoker, it tastes really good. Anything run through the smoker tastes good.
Yeah,
Your
for
tennis
sure.
shoes, yeah, they're
Mixed with
You
little
can chew on
bacon.
them too, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, mix it with bacon and
Yeah.
it'll be good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the landscape had a lot to do with it too, right? Because I was on the edge of town. I had this Muskeg Creek Valley running into the Athabasca River, and I could just walk to it, right? So
Yeah.
I guess the other thing too is that I think you and I probably have in common, and many people our age, was I've recognized that we had lots of unsupervised free play.
Totally.
That's what it was
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
And that to me is the formula, is a few mentors
Yeah.
that drag you, whether you know it or not,
Mhm.
outside and create empathetic connections with the land,
Yeah.
and then unscheduled free play where you're just pushed out and let go.
Yeah, nowadays they call that feral children, and that's the big reason we moved to the Northern Rockies. I wanted to raise my kids in a setting that was similar to me, where literally out the back door they're in wilderness, bush. We got bears, we got mountain lions, we got lakes, rivers, forests, and just go for it. You
Yeah,
know,
for
grow
sure.
up
Yeah.
in the bush. I don't know any better way than that. So. That's fantastic. How did you go from this fun childhood to the career that you built? Like, did you try your hand at other things, or did you always know, hey, I'm going to be a wilderness instructor, this is where I'm going?
Yeah, so growing up with my parents in that place in Muskeg Creek, I kind of formed this dream that I wanted to meet, and back then we said Indian, right? I said, I want to meet an old Indian that'll teach me the ways of the forest.
Right.
So that was the dream, right?
Yeah.
But I knew I had to get a job too, so I also ended up getting a job, and I went to college and stuff. But I just kept holding on to that. I want to find this person to teach me.
A mentor.
A mentor, yeah. And through college and work, I ended up moving around a bunch and found my way to Calgary, and did a bunch of mountaineering. Got into rock climbing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Did some avalanche rescue. Started doing ski touring in the winter, and kind of those type of activities that you'd expect in Calgary area.
Yeah,
right?
was that Kananaskis, Yamnuska,
Yeah.
Banff, all
Yeah,
that area?
in all
there?
those areas.
Yeah.
Bragg Creek too. I did lots of stuff out in that area, and lots of mountaintop climbing or scrambling. Right, I really was in love with that.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I received as a gift the book The Tracker from Tom Brown Jr.
Yeah.
And it was a Christmas gift. And that night I was at my parents' place. I was home to visit my parents, and I started to read the book The Tracker. And I got like one chapter in, and I'm like, holy man, this guy met an old Indian in the forest. I'm like, crazy, somebody actually did that. That dream is possible, right?
Yeah.
And I read the whole book, cover to cover, that night. I didn't go to sleep until it was done. And I was excited, right? And the next day, I picked up the book, I read it again. So in 2 nights, I read the book twice, cover to cover. And then on the back, it said, if you're interested and you want to know more, write to our school. We'll send you some courses, and you can come down and meet Tom Brown in person, right? And I was like, wow, this is great, my dream, right? So found a way to make it down there, and took a number of courses over a number of years. And
Yeah, we're gonna dive into that. I'm just wondering, George, do you know Tom Brown Jr.,
No.
the tracker?
No.
You gotta pick that up. So what's interesting about your story is the tracker had a profound influence on my life. Now, when I read the tracker, I was living in the Black Forest in Germany, and a friend of mine gave it to me. Same thing. Read that sucker through probably in a day or two. I've read and reread that book, and what it showed me was there's so much more to learn. Like, I was already a nature nut. I was into survival, bushcraft. I didn't know the term back then, but that's what I did for fun, you know. And the tracker just showed me, man, there are levels of this skill that I have never explored. And it was always a dream that, you know, I could maybe try to get as good as Tom Brown, maybe go to a school like that. And then as I grew older, start teaching my own bushcraft. Now, Tom Brown's an interesting fellow. So you went to his school. Tell me about the experience.
yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure.
New Jersey.
New
Pine
Jersey.
Barrens.
Yeah, New Jersey. That was a pretty wild experience too, just flying into the big city and
Yeah.
getting to the schooling and stuff. But what surprised me, some of the things that shocked me, like the first one I went to, there was 100 people in the class. I'm like, right.
They're
I didn't
big.
expect that. You know, I thought there was going to be me and a few people.
15.
There's 100 people
Yeah.
crammed into this barn, and there's Tom Brown and some instructors and stuff. And he was kind of hard to get close to. Right? He would almost appear like a guest star, and
Like
he
the
would,
Pope.
yeah, he would. Yeah, that's right. He would kind of march into the room, and everybody would be like, right?
Yeah.
And then he'd tell a story that would have people completely floored,
Mm-hmm.
and then he'd leave. Right? He'd kind of whisk out quickly and didn't remain really accessible and stuff. And he'd been teaching already for years at that point. And
What year was this?
this would have been 1995.
Okay.
1995. Yeah.
Is he teaching like bushcraft? Is that kind of what the school is, or what's?
Yeah, he's teaching tracking. So yeah, you didn't talk bushcraft back then. That wasn't really the word you would use back then. It was survival or wilderness skills,
Yeah.
right? Bushcraft kind of came later. That's where I feel
As a
anyways.
term, yes.
Yeah, as a term, as a real distinguishable thing. It kind of appeared through Mors Kochanski and, you know, kind of his popularity and stuff.
That's right.
And also over in the UK, right? They use the word bushcraft. In the States, they say woodcraft. So in the States, they say, I'm going to go to the woods. Up here, we say, I'm going to go to the bush.
Right.
And when we come out, we're bushed, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyways, he did teach that stuff, but he also dipped into tracking a lot. He dipped into what he would call the spiritual stuff too, and closeness and empathetic connection to the land. And he was very good at painting the wilderness as a paradise, as a utopia that everybody should strive for, and your life will be greatly improved.
Yeah.
The more time you spend there and the greater connection you have. And he taught about, and this is interesting, he taught about slowing down. That was kind of one of the biggest things that I pulled from him, because I was searching as a mountaineer, hiker, peak grabber. You know, I was like, travel, go. I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
I've got endurance. I'm like, yeah, I can get to the top. Yeah, 15-mile hike, no problem, right? I was kind of in that mode.
Yeah.
And then Tom Brown, he would say, I see more in 100 feet than you see in days of hiking.
Right.
And he would slow you down, right? And so once I started grasping onto that, everything changed, and I started, instead of trying to get to the top of the peak, I tried to, I'd start at the bottom and I'd never get very far, and I'd look at all the things before you get down the trail very far, and start pulling all that information in and slowing it down, and then you get bigger animal encounters. You start to really absorb.
You see more.
You absorb more. Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah, I remember him talking about splatter vision and the coyote stalk, and he'd be the type of guy, not only, oh, here's a track, it's a mammal track, he'd be like, left hind foot of a female pregnant shrew. Like that's sort of the level that he would get down to, right? And that's where we could chat about. Some people thought he was a bit of a faker that way, that he took things too far. And I have a friend who went to his courses as well, and I think Tom Brown's a very interesting guy because he truly was the guru. He's passed away, the guru of survival bushcraft for many decades. But what was your sense about the reality of everything that he was teaching?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything negative about him. So I can tell you, from my perspective, he had an absolutely massive influence on my life. He turned my life into the guy who kind of had direction as to what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to teach the stuff after I read the tracker. Yeah. And after I saw him and his instructors, I knew that was going to be me. And I was going to find a way. I'd have a job in the meantime, but I was going to find a way.
Right.
And that's all I've been doing, for 30 years now, right?
Yeah.
So he was infinitely inspirational, and not only to me, but to hundreds of people. And I often say there's a alumni newsletter that I was part of, and a number of years ago that newsletter came out, and somebody had compiled a list of all the bushcraft or wilderness or tracking schools all around the world that were influenced by Tom Brown. And there's 400 on that list.
I believe it.
So in that sense, he was so influential and inspiring to me personally and to so many people. So way to go, Tom. And he spent his whole adult life doing it till the day he died, right?
That's right.
Till the day he died. He never truly did anything else but that, right? So he was committed.
Yeah.
There was also conspiracy surrounding Tom Brown because a lot of his stories and his experience and even his writings were a little bit beyond believability and a little bit hard to grasp and hard to verify.
Yeah.
And he would call it, I believe, coyote teaching, which is that you always leave people guessing with a big question mark so that they want more.
Right.
So they dig harder and dig deeper, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think it's a gift. So even that bit about him kept him very interesting, right?
Yeah.
And it kept people coming, and it turned some people away, and that sort of thing. But so he was both those things. He was inspirational, but he was also questionable, right?
Yeah. And who really knows? Like, there's stuff in my book and my stories that people might say, did that really happen? I'm like, yes, it did. Now, Tom took things to a whole different level. He would, what was his best friend, Rick, they would lie in the grass in the dark, in the moonlight, wait for deer to come by and put their hands up and stroke the sides of a deer, right? Mm. Now, I've never been that close. I have been almost close enough to touch a deer sitting in a archery blind. Oh. So I'm like, could you get that close? He's got another story jumping out of a tree onto the back of a buck and knifing the deer to death with his knife. I'm like, could that be true? I guess theoretically you could. I've just never been in a position where I've tried that hard. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. He's got these over-the-top stories, martial arts stuff that he was doing, punching through bricks and things like that.
Right.
So, as you say, though, the greater good that Tom Brown did outweighs any of the tall tales that might be there. And he truly was skilled and gifted, because I learned a lot of what I know of bushcraft through his writings. So I can verify that they worked, right? But George, for the next generation, pick up the tracker. You will not be disappointed, and read it to your kid. He'll just set him on a course, right? Because it worked for me, worked for Dale, and many others,
So oddly enough, two of those things you mentioned, I've been able to have happen to me.
You touch a deer?
So haven't touched.
Knifed the deer.
I haven't. I did knife a deer. So that's one of them. And it was also out of a tree, or I was in a tree stand. And then the other one was not a deer, but through Tom's teachings and me slowing down, I thought, this has got to be reachable. I've got to be able to do some of this. So there was a time when I had enough time to do it, because it really takes time.
Yeah.
You really need free time to get to that level
Sure.
of quietness, because
Yeah.
we all know we bring the city or the town or our busy lives with us when we walk into the woods, and our body language conveys that. So you need some time for your body language to stop broadcasting that to everything in the forest.
Yeah.
And sending out a concentric wave in front of you of your cityness and quietening down so you're more like an animal, right? So, and that was a really beautiful part of Tom Brown, was I learned all about that type of oneness with the forest, right? So I would slow right down and I would quiet myself down and almost get into a moving meditation, and I would try and stock up on animals. And the one animal that I did have some success with, you probably laugh because they're not the brightest animal, but it was a ruffed grouse, right? Which isn't all that spectacular, but still, it was a ruffed grouse that was drumming on a log, and so it's walking back and forth, strutting, with its chest out. It's like, I'm all that, and it gets to the end of the log, and then it does its little. Apparently, that impresses the lady grouse.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to the other end of the log, and it does the same thing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try and see if I can touch that thing, right? So I spent almost 3 hours getting into it. So I just slowly would move in, and I used one of his techniques, which was becoming an animal, right? So he talks about walking like a fox, right? And so I thought, well, the least intrusive animal would be a deer that I can think of. So I pretended to become a deer. And in my mind, I'm not conveying a body language of a human. Instead, I was like walking slowly on four, with my hands and knees, so 4 feet. And I'd pretend to browse. And then I'd just stop and I'd sit, right? And I was just trying to be the most chill deer that I could be. And I slowly kept working my way in. And, the grouse would kind of like, but then he'd relax and he'd go back to what he was doing. And I got to where I was at the end of the log, and he'd go down this way or down the other way, and then he'd come right back to me, and he'd drum like right beside my head, and the wind's like, and then he'd turn and he'd go to walk away, and I'd go boop, and I'd touch him on his back, and then he'd go drum at the other end, and then he'd come back.
Wow.
And then coincidentally, some deer came running into the area, spooked by something, I don't know what. And they came in and they stopped right beside me and that grouse. And I was sitting there motionless. The grouse was like, what's this all about? And the deer were kind of like looking behind them, and they turned and looked at us. And the deer took off, and the grouse took off, and like I was just sitting there, and I was like, woo!
I did it. That's amazing.
So I know it's possible,
Yeah.
and I believe somebody who spent enough time at it,
Yeah.
for sure, some of those things you could definitely do.
You get that close.
And I gotta believe that indigenous peoples everywhere were at that level
Sure.
Yeah.
at one time.
It is a mindset blending in, like for any of us, and all three of us here hunt, and there's a point in hunting where you're not the outsider in the forest, but you become part of the forest.
Yeah.
It's a sense of mind and body, and it's like, I am not the outsider, I belong here. And hunting always works better when you can get into that groove, right?
Yeah.
Now, had it been a spruce grouse, I wouldn't be as impressed. But sneaking up,
Yeah, that's right.
the fool hen.
Yeah.
But I've had spruce grouse run and attack my legs. But roughies are a lot more alert, so that's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to hear the story about the deer then too.
Yeah. What's your deer story?
Deer story, right? So I'm hunting I have a recurve that I hunt with, or I used to hunt with. I'm moving to a compound bow now, because as I get older, I can't pull my recurve like I used to. So I'm in a tree stand, and I had 2 arrows with me. I don't know why. I can't even remember why I only had 2, right? But anyways, in the tree stand, and I was sitting there trying to stay awake. You know that feeling when you're trying to stay awake and you're hunting. And somehow I let loose of my arrow that was not fully knocked on the string, and the arrow went thunk, and it hit the ground. And that thunk sounds like a deer when they stomp their feet.
Right.
When they're a little bit uneasy.
Yep.
They're confused. They're checking out what's in the forest and trying to, convey, well, hey, what's up? So it went thunk, and then I heard thunk in answer to it. And I was like, oh, it's a deer. I've got one more arrow. And then I heard thunk, thunk, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. So I just waited, and sure as heck, this doe comes back. And this was back quite some time ago. I would shoot does for meat because they were supplemental.
Sure, yeah.
And
The best meat there is, yeah.
and so the doe came in, and it came in right under the tree stand. I'm like, oh, it's right under me. And so I reached up and I shot, and I was trying, of course, for a kill shot, but it lodged right in its backbone here. And everything from the arrow in its backbone back was paralyzed. It went numb. And its front legs and its head were not. So this poor thing, it started going like this and waving around, and I was like, oh no, right? And at that point, I didn't have arrows in my hand. So I'm like, I've got to put this thing down, right? Because at that point, everything else went out of my head except it's suffering, and I've got to deal with this, right? And so I had a chore at that time. It became nothing but a chore. No emotion, no excitement, just I have to finish the job. So I quickly crawled down, and I was like, all I've got is my knife. And I came in behind it, and I was able to put my hand on it, and it was like this. And so I took my knife and I stabbed it. And I had to build myself up to stabbing it, right? I had to build courage, which I did, and I stabbed it. And then I felt it, its head slowly went down, and it closed its eyes, and then I felt its heart stop. Then it was emotional, after that. So, and having read Tom Brown's story about watching a deer for a long time, and then planning his hunt, and then falling out of a tree and killing it, but it didn't die, and he had to strangle it. That was his story.
Wow.
Right? So it became, it was still a chore, but it was still. I'm not going to forget that, right?
Yeah,
totally.
So.
The fragility of life. Actually, our mutual friend James, he was the first guy I saw do that with a knife, and I've since done it to probably at least 10 deer. My sons have watched me, and there's something, people say, well, why wouldn't you just shoot it again? I'm like, I can kill it quicker with my knife and wreck less meat. So there's the theory. And just the bang of the gun again just sometimes feels intrusive, like it's almost obscene at that point when that animal's dying. And I've been on the back of bucks and does and finished them with a hunting knife, and as you say, as you feel the life force flow out of the deer, you will never look at life and death the same way. Like it touches you, just the fragility of life. This animal that's physically bigger and stronger than you, and it's quite the sombering feelings. So
I think there was a piece of me that remembered Tom Brown's story, right? And so I went down, and I was like, this is as close as I'm ever gonna get. So right, so and I mean, you're a hunter, I'm a hunter, and you know what it's like sometimes when you shoot these animals. It's surprisingly unemotional, and it's just kind of it's over. And then other times, for whatever reason, it's kind of like, that you either feel like you feel. I usually feel two things. I feel excitement because I'm glad that I did it, and I always feel sorry too because I feel bad for the animal. But those two things kind of mesh together into what I take a lot of pleasure out of, which is hunting, right? So,
well, they're beautiful. Like, I think deer are one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. They're just so perfectly elegant, graceful, and I always feel that when I shoot a deer. I'm just grateful, also a little bit sad, but I'm connected where my food comes from, and I'd rather be connected than simply ordering a double cheeseburger at McDonald's, right? I feel, there's something almost sacred in that relationship. And there's a pride bringing those packages out of the freezer, right, George?
Well, it brings it back too. You open that up and you fry from steaks, and you're like, this was that experience. Ties you back in.
From forest to the table, right? And that whole thing is immensely enjoyable for me. It's not for everybody, and I'll be the first to admit that. But for those who get pleasure out of it, it's usually deeply meaningful That's why we love it. We love to do it.
So you went from Tom Brown, one of the biggest icons of all time in wilderness survival, bushcraft, and then you mentored with Mors Kochanski. Tell us about, I met Mors a few times, I did some programs with him. This guy was larger than life. His book, Northern Bushcraft, I mean, I dog-eared that thing back in, man, what year was that? That was in the 80s already.
Yeah.
And so he was huge influence on my life, but it sounds like you got to spend even more time with him. So tell us about Mors, because he's a Alberta icon.
Alberta, not even far from here, right?
No, and world renowned now, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I was quite hotly involved with Tom Brown's teachings.
Yeah.
And I was back in Alberta. I got a job as a program director at a kids camp called Camp Encounter, and we'd have like 3,000 people a year come to the camp, and we'd run programs for them and all kinds of outdoor stuff, which was hugely rewarding. And along that time, I started reading bushcraft, right? And then I started remembering that in high school, in my outdoor ed courses, the teachers all learned from Mors when he was teaching at the University of Alberta.
Yeah.
Because for 12 or 13 years, he pumped out teachers who had his influence, and they went out into schools and they all ran great outdoor ed programs.
Yeah.
So in my outdoor ed program, we got more knives given to us, and we were told to keep them in our lockers. Right? Try and do that nowadays, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, here, put this knife in your locker. I'm like, yeah, sure. And we carried matches to school and stuff. So anyways, I knew about him, and I knew about the book, and so I reached out, and I found out, well, he's just over here, right? He was just not very far away.
Worked in Switzer Park.
Yeah.
And
And I literally looked in the phone book. This is in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked in the phone book, I found his name, and I was like, dang, his name's right there. And I got my courage up and I phoned him, and we talked for the longest time, right? And that was one of his gifts, is that he was never full of ego. He would sit and talk to anybody who wanted to hear anything, and he just would take passion out of that, right?
Yeah.
He didn't slough off anybody. If he could talk someone's ear, he was going to talk it, right? And then he said, well, you should come and visit. So I started going to see him and hanging out with him at his place, and eventually started going on courses with him. And he says, yeah, come along, I could use a helper. And after a while, I started, kind of helping at those courses, and eventually he started to think about retiring. I got pulled into the circle of the Karamat courses.
Yeah.
You're familiar with
the
Karamat courses.
Team,
Randy and Laurie Gruzma and the wonderful work that they do and they've done. And so I started becoming part of that and teaching with Mors, a guy named Kelly Harleton, who's amazing.
Yeah.
And the list of amazing names goes on, and many of them tied to Mors. And so we called him Dad, right? We kind of affectionately called him Dad, right? And so, yeah, it was quite a time. It was too short. I didn't get to spend enough time with him, I feel like. But yeah. So the thing that got me about Mors, on the one hand, there was the Tom Brown stuff. A lot of it was intangible, somewhat hard to grasp, and a lot of it was what Tom would say spiritual, right? Or sacred. And so I was really chasing that for quite a while, and I loved that. But then there was Mors, who was practical, functional, scientific, and it was just the hard skills.
Yeah.
And the two really, I think, blend together.
I found the same thing.
And the hard part, the question that I've always had, looking back over all these years, is I can teach. The funny thing is, I can teach Mors's stuff, the practical skills, easily, and it's well received. The Tom Brown stuff is, because it's so intangible and almost out there, it's hard to teach. And I've still never really grasped how to get people to that place that I've discovered.
Yeah.
And it's a harder thing. Like when I sit down and teach knife skills the way that Mors would have taught us, people can see it and they can pick up a knife and they can do it.
Yeah.
When I try to teach them how to enter a sensory awareness meditation and go out into nature and feel nature, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have a lot of time, and people are bringing their city baggage with them, and so that's that sort of teaching stuff I've often just had to let slide away because
I sort of pause there. I think you're on something really big because I felt the same thing. Tom Brown was almost a spiritual. It's almost yin and yang, and Mors was a scientific, and if you could marry those two, you had the perfect balance, right? Yeah. And both of them brought something very rewarding to the table, and there's value in both. Like, you know what it's like when you're shooting a bow or a gun, and sometimes you just can't shoot to save your life, and other times you are dialed in and you can't miss. That to me is the Tom Brown thing. Like, I've been there where I'm like, I don't care if the shot's 400 yards, I'm hitting a bullseye and boom, you do. I don't know what it is. That's not scientific. It's something you feel in your gut. And you can get into nature like that and just be one with nature, connected. There's something art. It's the art versus the science. And whereas Mors to me was more, let's haul out the thermometers. Let's find out how hot this Quincy gets when I put a candle in it versus a reflector of the lean-to, blah, blah, blah. And he was very scientific, which is also great. Yeah. But to me, I need both in my life, and I've felt both, right? So, and I think anyone who loves the outdoors has felt both. So, folks, if you're listening here, pick up Bushcraft by Mors Kochanski, pick up The Tracker by Tom Brown, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. You know, two different ways of seeing the world. And yet, Mors was not disconnected from the love of nature. I mean, he was passionate.
He had it in him, too.
He had it in him,
He had it in him, Yeah, for sure.
And he taught military, RCMP, bush pilots, all of that. As he said, school teachers all over Canada were taught by him. Yeah.
And I mean, when we're teaching it, when my wife and I are teaching it, you have to be sensitive to the crowd you're teaching to, right? So one crowd, you can teach those hard skills to, but if you started pulling out sensory awareness stuff, they'd go, what, are we chasing rainbows and unicorns here? Like, what is this, right? They're like, get this, I don't want to hear this crap.
This hippy dippy.
Yeah, what's this hippy dippy stuff, right? But on the other hand, you can be in a crowd of people like that and they're super receptive to it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the Tom Brown side of me starts coming out and I start saying, oh, well, maybe I can actually teach you about this. Let's try and move through the forest like this and see what, do you understand concentric waves? Let's see if we can move through the forest and not affect the birds that are in front of us and take away our humanness and try to move through quietly. And they're like, ooh, I love that, right? So it's right. Two extremes, right? So, yeah, and both are valid, right? And cool.
Yeah, that's wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Man, we got so much stuff to talk about here.
I just want to do a would you rather on this one.
Yeah, do a would you rather.
Because we're talking about teaching. Complete beginners, so you got complete beginners come to your course. Would you rather teach them firecraft or navigation?
Oh, firecraft.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Easier?
Yeah. Because it's one of the top things that's going to save your bacon if you're stuck in there, right? Yeah. Like it's a good friend, Bruce Sawalski, survival instructor, author. He calls it the great equalizer. I don't know if that's his term or what, but fire is the great equalizer. Yeah. It levels the playing ground. Yeah. It makes everything easier once you have that fire, right? So navigation, will it kill you or will it make you survive? Well, yes, maybe. But fire without it in a lot of the months of the year here, you're definitely going to not have a good time.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So yeah.
Okay, on that springboards to another. I got so many good would you rathers here that I want to hammer you with, man. Would you rather be lost in the boreal forest with a knife or a ferro rod? And you're going to ask what season because you know your stuff. So I'm going to say summertime. Knife or ferro rod?
And like for me personally.
You personally, not Joe Blow.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, that's interesting. I'll try and give you a short answer, but in this little TV show thing that I'm doing, one of the things that surprised me after 6 episodes in season 1 was how little I used the knife. But it was in the context of 72 hours to survive.
Yeah.
So it was what the TV show, maybe we'll talk about it at some point.
We definitely will. Definitely will, yeah.
For me, the TV show is, the reason I'm putting it out there is for people who don't necessarily have all that experience. The things that they need to do to make it through that 72-hour period so they can be rescued. Yeah. Right? And so I put in the episodes all the elements of that, and surprisingly, very rarely did a knife come up. You didn't need it. For what? It doesn't keep you warm. Yeah. It doesn't keep you hydrated. Right? Right? So that's one interesting side of it. But if you asked that question to me and you said, do you want just a knife? I'd go with just a knife would be the answer in the summer, because I would like to go and make a Bojo fire with my knife and then turn it into fire.
What to do,
right? If I have fire, I can't turn that into a knife, but I also do have the means to make crude knives out of quartzite. Right? So,
totally.
But yeah, does that help?
It does, and probably exactly what I would have answered.
Yeah.
Wintertime might be different. Fire is so essential. I would choose the ferro rod.
Yeah,
in
for
winter.
sure. Yeah.
Now I have made Bojo fires in the -20, but it's a lot harder.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
and in the winter, you don't have time to mess around with that sometimes. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Let's dig into that TV show then, because what's the concept then? So 72 hours, something happens, you break down or something. This is like, how does it go?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I never dreamed that I would have a TV show or be in a TV show. Yeah. So that's kind of bizarre on its own. But the premise behind it is when I met a guy who was a director for a documentary that was being filmed in the area, and my wife Colleen and I were extras. And after the filming of that, we were all having lunch, and I said, I've got an idea for a survival show. Are you interested? And he said, sure, I like survival shows. Go for it, right? And I just met him, right? And I said, so this is how I pitched it to him, but it's a little different than how it turned out. I said, so there's 2 instructors. There's myself and another one. And we go to a place that's popular for outdoor experiences, like a trailhead for hikers, or a put-in for paddlers, or a snowmobile place, or a place where people go quadding, and we just walk up to random dudes in the parking lot and we say, hey, we're so-and-so, we're filming a TV show. We see you're going out for the day. We'd like it if you wouldn't mind sharing the gear that you have. Right. And I'm going to copy that same gear, and I'm going to go out for 72 hours and just survive with that. Right? And that's how I pitched it to him.
Yeah, I like that concept.
And as it turned out, he said, well, we can't do 2 guys. He said, Dale, it's just you. And I'm like, oh boy. Because I was nervous. I didn't want to be by myself. I wanted to bring a buddy. And then he said, no, it's just you. And so that's what it's turned into.
Cool.
And talk to us about the 72 hours. Why is the 72 hours important?
Yeah, well, what I understand and have come to believe is that, especially in modern survival, our modern day, 72 hours is the window in which usually you're either rescued or walk out or you're dead. Right? So if it goes longer than 72 hours, your chances of being rescued start to really drop off. Right? So that first 3 days is really critical. Right? So the show, I try to show little survival nuggets that will get you through that extended period of 72 hours.
Yeah. And now you've filmed some of these already. How many episodes have you filmed? You've done winter, summer. Tell us a bit about the scenarios and where, because it's going to launch on Wild TV, is that right?
Yeah.
Give us the overview.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So season 1 was 6 episodes. So I've been a snowmobiler who was lost I've been a hiker that was lost. I was a mountain biker who was lost and injured. I was a bow hunter who was lost. And I was a quad rider who was lost. Pretty good at getting lost. And somehow, miraculously, my cell phone is dead and doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck out there for 72 hours, right? So that's kind of the setup for each show. And in each show, I was able to find somebody locally in the area that we shot in through word of mouth by talking to the local municipalities. They would give us a name for a snowmobiler or a hiker or a mountain biker, and I'd just reach out to those people and I'd say, hey, do you want to be in a TV show? And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. So we had to script it because truthfully it's hard to walk up to somebody randomly and just do that, right?
Yeah.
But I would tell the people beforehand, I'd say, okay, so this is the scenario. I'm going to walk up to you and I'm going to say, I see you're going out for 72 hours. I'd like to copy your gear and go out. And I'd tell them, don't tell me what you're going to get until just before the show. And all I need is a list, like right before the show, of those items. And I said, I don't want you to think about me as a survival person. I just want you to pack those items.
Yeah.
Right? And I had to acquire them too, because we had a certain timeline to shoot the show in. Right, so I had to have those things. I couldn't go meet somebody randomly and then go shopping,
Right.
and then come back and like it takes days to film then. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So as much as I could, I tried to not influence their decisions.
Yeah.
And then they would just text me what's on the list or a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then I'd just copy those things. And I'd go to Canadian Tire or whatever. And
Did you ever have,
copy those.
I mean, we definitely want to watch this. I'm totally on board with this show. I want to see it, but without spoiling too much, did you ever have times when nobody had a knife or a lighter, nothing to cut, nothing to burn for fire? Those would be in my mind, the two biggest challenges.
Box of craft dinner and a case of beer.
Yeah, that's right.
Good luck.
No Bullmore 12-year-old scotch. Like, how are you making it for 3 days?
Yeah. So we haven't had that. And that's a good idea. Yeah. Case of beer and what did you say?
Box of KD.
Box of craft dinner, right? Yeah, and a case of beer.
That's what some people do on a camera.
You just struck a funny one in me. That would be hilarious.
That would be
right?
great. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'd have to probably contact different people than the ones we
Contact George before he's going to
George, so you want to be in a show?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right on. Right, so, yeah.
Like, have you had to do a bow drill out there?
No, but that's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming in the second season.
Oh, sweet.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, it's coming. So, I mean, and you and I know that the bow drill is a skill you got to work at,
Sure.
right? And so, if I'm doing a TV show that hopefully the general public and people who aren't into bushcraft and survival are going to find useful.
Yeah.
Why would I teach them or show them how to do a bow drill? Like a 72-year-old woman who's hiking outside isn't going to learn how to do a bow drill off a TV show and go and do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like most people just won't, right?
Yeah.
So my focus on the show has always been worthwhile stuff, right?
Yeah.
Worthwhile.
Practical skills.
Practical skills.
Yeah. Can't wait to see it, man.
Yeah,
And-
it sounds good. I like the concept.
Wild TV.
It's
When's
so-
it coming out? When can people see it? How?
Yeah, it's coming out on Wild TV on June 29th. And so the 6 episodes are running like four to six different times. Like episode 1, 4 to 6 different times, and then episode 2, 4 to 6 different times over a few months. And then I think they're getting a second running. So
Sweet.
honestly, at the TV world and the network world is the director,
Mm-hmm.
and I just do the other stuff. I just do the stuff in the bush.
Yeah.
So I'm not even really sure how all that works. I'm trying to learn that world, right? So,
And it will be, people can tune in, States, Canada, anyone who's
Right.
connected to Wild TV. Is
yeah.
that
So
the way-
my understanding is that Wild TV has partners in the United States and over in the UK,
Right.
right?
Oh,
So
UK as well, yeah.
yeah. And then down the road after the Wild TV showing, then I don't know what happens after that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I know we put together this little TV show with a crew of hardworking people. There was no real big budget. It's not like a Discovery Channel or a History Channel, and it's been pretty awesome. It's been pretty exciting and pretty interesting, and yeah. The funny thing was after I pitched it to that the director, his name is Tim, and he's directed quite a bit of stuff, right? So we started getting to know each other a bit, and he came and watched Colleen and I teach at a few different occasions. And then one day I was sitting in a tree stand and he phoned me up and he said, Dale, he said, I got some good news. Wild TV signed on. We've got to start writing a script. The show is a go. And I was like, what? And he says, the show is a go. And I'm like, no, you're kidding, right? And he's like, I'm not kidding you, man. We got to get down. We got to name this thing. What should we name it? And I was like, you're kidding, right? I couldn't even believe it, right? I thought it wasn't even for real. And he says, yeah, we got to start writing a script. And we need a name. What should we call it? The network's going to want to know what we call it. And I was thinking for a bit, and I said, oh, we could call it I'm Naked, Be Afraid. Right? And he's like, oh, that's funny, but no, we can't call it that. And then he said, what did you say about 72 hours or something like that? 72 hours to survive? And those were his words. And I said, Tim, that's it. We're going to call it 72 Hours to Survive.
It's a great title. Yeah. And anyone who studies survival knows what that means. So to me, immediately it had a good ring. So good on you. Yeah.
It's a good opportunity to bring up the rule of threes, and all of these survival nuggets and stuff. So
Cool. Let me throw in another would you rather. Sure, and I know George has got questions for us here. Actually, I got so many good would you rathers here. Would you rather spend one night in the winter, of course you're lost in the bush, right, always, without a sleeping bag, or one night without fire? You got basically nothing else. It's not like you got your tent and all this. So you got a sleeping bag under your arm, or you got a lighter in your pocket. You're lost in the Northern Rockies here, -20.
Yeah, I'd still rather have the fire than the sleeping bag.
Right answer.
Yeah. I mean, what's the rating on the sleeping bag would be a valid question, right? But I mean, if it was a Mount Everest kind of sleeping bag, that might be a different story.
That might toaster 10,000. Sleeping -40 on the ice.
In my experience, most of the ratings on the sleeping bags don't measure out, right? They don't pan out for what they say they are. So. And
you can always make it with
the fire. You can always make it with the fire.
I've done -30 without a sleeping bag on a long fire. And just the clothes on my back. It can be done, right?
Do you even take a sleeping bag with you?
Usually naked and afraid out there, right?
That's right.
I could give you another one here. Would you rather be stranded in the mountains or deep muskeg? And season's always important. Let's say fall. It's September in the mountains or deep muskeg. You're there for a week. What are you choosing?
A week.
What are you choosing and why?
Yeah, I'd probably stick with the muskeg, actually. It's just what I'm most familiar with.
Yeah, that's your home turf there.
Yeah, it's the forest I walked in as a kid. And I've spent time in the mountains and stuff, and I find it fairly lean. I find it difficult. Yeah. Even the amount of firewood isn't there like it is in the boreal forest in the swamps and stuff.
True.
So, yeah.
And in September, most of the skeeters have died, so that might affect you as well. How about you, George?
Well, man, I can't. It seems like Dale brings up too many positives of the muskeg. Not like muskeg.
Well, to me, that's where all the snowshoe hare are going to be, right?
Yeah.
The squirrels are going to be there, and chances are I'm not going to knock a moose down. I'm going to probably eat those small animals.
Right. Yeah.
Snare it with your bootlays.
Yeah.
How far up the mountains I got to be?
Yeah, you and your technical questions, George. That is a good question. We're not going to say like above the alpine. You are subalpine. So Cardinal Divide.
Yeah. Man, I would love to spend a week up there.
Yeah.
I'm going,
that
I'm
would
going
be
mountains.
nice.
Man.
Just for the views,
just
right?
for the views. Let you all show you and a little less firewood, but yeah, I'll go mountains.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right
What
on.
you doing?
Muskeg for survival, mountains for views.
Okay.
Yeah, the views.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a couple things. The other thing is with the mountains, as soon as you get into Grizz country,
Yeah.
it does change things, right? And I'm pretty comfortable in the woods, but if I know I'm in Grizz territory, it's different, right?
Yeah.
And out in our boreal forest, there are Grizz around where we live. They're not frequent, but they are in the area.
Yeah.
But I don't even have to have that piece in my head, right? I don't even have to think about that really. And I walk differently and react differently and stuff, knowing that apex predator isn't there. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Are you frequently, like, would you have bear spray on you regularly? Is that something in your pack?
Yes, when I'm with groups. When I'm out by myself, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends on the familiarity with where I'm at. too,
Okay.
Right. And the sign that I'm seeing. Right. So, we haven't talked about tracking here.
Yeah,
but,
I'll dig into tracking next.
that was the other thing that Tom Brown was, like he inspired me for trackings, animal sign and tracking so much. So I'm never not tracking, right? I'm always looking at the ground. I'm always pulling information from everywhere I see. And so if I'm not seeing bear sign, then my guard goes down a little bit.
Okay.
Right? But if I am seeing bear sign, then I'm either going to just leave that area or hopefully have bear spray with me, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you see, like, when you're tracking? What do you see that the normal person wouldn't see? If that makes sense.
Wow. That's kind of a big question to unravel.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not a tracker, so I feel like I'm missing a ton of things that are, like, super obvious probably to you. Like, yeah, curious what stands out to you when you're tracking.
So, when you're tracking, you're not just looking at animal footprints. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah.
The tracking involves the clouds, the weather. It involves the wind. It involves the scratches on plants. It involves the trails, and it involves the ecosystem that you're in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It involves all of that as the big picture. Otherwise, you're just focusing in on one thing and missing all of those other pieces.
Yeah.
So I think for me, because I'm really familiar with a lot of those aspects of it, right? And I'm always tuning into all of those pieces, and I'm looking up, I'm listening to the birds. And so when I look at the ground, it's not just looking at the ground, it's big picture, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that other people do that, right? So they'll see a track on the ground and they'll go, is that a bear track? When it's a dog track, right? And you're in a park that's popular and there's footprints right beside it, it's likely a dog track, right? But I'm looking at it and right away I'm thinking, okay, well, it's not a dog track, but what else would be here? And I'll scan and look at the whole place and put the big picture into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I'll look at the gait, right, which is the movement, the way the animal's moving. Is it walking, trotting, running? Is it galloping? Is it loping? And things like that. So this is a long answer. This could be a long answer, right?
No, I like it because I mean, Scott brought up in your bio there too, like you're certified tracker. Just like, are you using that for hunting?
All the time.
Yeah.
Constantly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, when I say I'm never not tracking, those are words that I heard come out of Tom Brown's mouth.
Okay.
He said, awareness is, and this is how he talks, he's like, awareness is everything. You're never not tracking. Or he would say, the question is, when are you tracking? And the answer is, you never not tracking. And that's how he'd say it, right? So, and, there'd be thunder and lightning and stuff as he's speaking. It seemed like that. Right? It seemed like that because he was a larger-than-life character when he's in front of you, right? But, so you're never not tracking. Does that kind of answer what you were saying?
Did it seem like it improved your hunting success?
Absolutely.
Then? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How can someone learn to track? Like, do you got to take a class for it? What's the move?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because I run tracking workshops, that's the question that comes out most. And my answer is here in Alberta anyways, there's two really good little books called The Animal Tracks of Alberta and The Animal Tracks of Western Canada. And they're just little tiny books.
Yeah.
So you'll probably carry them in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and you flip through them and they just get you started.
Oh, cool.
Right? They just get you started. So you see an animal track, then you start counting toes and claws and the shape, and then you start looking for it and matching it up. Because that's the easy introductory place to start, right? And then if you really decide that you're going to be into it, then you start looking for the bigger books that talk about gait analysis and that talk about signs, gnawings, bitings, rubs, scratches, hair getting caught on things. You start looking deeper into all of those aspects of it. But
are you a tracking stick guy? Some people are big into the tracking stick. Do you use a toilet paper method? Do you use a flashlight?
Flashlight at night, that's fun. In the winter,
And to mark it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What's
Tracking stick, not so much.
Some people are big into, like, let's say you arrowed a deer.
Oh, I
see. Tracking
it,
and you're trying to mark your last spot. What I've done before is done a flash. Hopefully you have two, and you can put a flashlight at your last track if the sun's going down.
Yeah.
And then you move forward. Or you flag it or you mark your tree because you don't want to lose the trail, right? So I've had to use that. I've been on my hands and knees. And the worst is when you're trying to track a wounded deer, it's getting dark, it's raining, and it's fall, so all the leaves are turning red. So everything looks like shiny blood. And that is a frustrating place to be. But I've been there and you're literally on your hands and knees and sometimes working inches at a time to find that deer in the end. You got any good tips for us on that?
Yeah, well,
bloodhound, which you're not allowed to use.
Yeah, truthfully, I mean the only thing other than what you just said is that well, we live in a modern world, so I start the GPS right away, right? And I get on my iHunter and I start point last seen. Bang, I start it right now because if I have to go back to that spot, it's right there, right? So old school would have been a flashlight, it would have been a mark, or you blaze it or whatever, right? So you can keep going back to that point, right? A few years ago, we tracked a deer I was guiding and we had some hunters out and we went to look for a wounded deer. And this was a neat one for me. And I'd heard it before, but never really put it into an actual application. But we were having a heck of a time finding this deer, and I was moving slow and methodic. Other guys were just marching around. And the one guy said, a wounded deer always go towards water, even if it's a long ways away. I'm going to go that way. And he walked right down there, and he walked onto the deer, right? And I was like, is that really a thing? Right? And I wondered if it was just luck or not. But that was kind of a neat one, right? That I hadn't really
I've heard that. And I got a few friends who hunt the river.
Yeah.
And they say during archery season especially, they'll find dead elk and moose that have made it down to the Athabasca River and died in the river. Now, is that because it's downhill? Like last year I helped a buddy, he shot a black bear.
Yeah.
Again, black bear can often hide the exit wound, the fat, the fur, all that. So you're not dealing with a blood trail. And maybe this is a Tom Brown thing. We couldn't find the tracks. It was thick bush, spring bear. And I was like, buddy, if I was a bear, I would run this way. And that was literally what I said. There was no other reason, right? And I started walking and we found it.
Yeah.
But it was downhill into thick bush. Is that because it's easier to run downhill when you're wounded? I don't know. Is that why they're down in the river? Because they're running downhill? Folks, if you're listening and you're hunting, tell us about your stories where you found deer downhill by the water.
Yeah. It's a good one to unravel, and that's the thing with tracking is there's a million questions.
Sure.
And there's not many answers. I mean, there's a million answers, but the definitive answers take a lot of sleuthing.
Yeah.
Right? It takes work. And you're not definitive until it's definitive. which means you find poop, you find the animal, you see the animal. Up until then, it's still speculation until you've actually got the proof, right?
And one thing I would say for sure, because I've taught my 6 kids to hunt, taught a lot of people to hunt, always follow up the shot. Even if you think you missed, you're like, oh, I totally missed that deer. It flagged, bounced away. I can't tell you how many times I've gone and looked and the person I'm with can't find the deer, and I start tracking, I slow down, and I find it. It's like, you did hit it. And how many times have deer been given up for missed and they weren't? Man, I think that happens so often. Sadly, right? I mean, nothing goes to waste in the bush. The wolves will eat, the cougars, the bears, but it's still a shame to lose an animal, right?
We had one where we were guiding a few years ago and a fella shot, and he swore he hit it, and we were left to a grid search. Like, that's all we could do, because it was a chunk of woods that was definable by boundaries, and outside of those boundaries was open fields or roads or cut lines or whatever. So we knew it went into this bush, and we were like, we've got to be for sure, right? Because this guy paid money to come up here and hunt from the States. He took a shot, and if he shot it, we've got to find it. If we didn't, we can't let him hunt until we've proved that this thing is either dead or missed, right? So we had to do a grid search through that whole thing, and we did. We GPS'd, and we just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until we covered that whole chunk. Never saw a drop of blood, never saw a hair, nothing, right? No sign or evidence. And we had to rule it out, and that's the guide's responsibility, so that the guy can then effectively continue hunting or not if he had gotten it, right? So, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to tracking, and it's one of those arts that you just got to spend time with it, right? If you want to get really good at it and be amazing, you have to spend time at it. And you have to look at birds' nests, right? Like, it's not just tracking hunting. Tracking is everything, right? So you have to learn all the aspects of tracking. Not just about the animals, it's about everything, right? Tracking the weather, and tracking the patterns of the birds, tracking the changes of the groundwater. All those pieces play into tracking once you really get into it.
Okay, I want to get into guiding too, but I do have a question we posted on our social media, tracking related. Would you rather spend a year with the tracking skills of a wolf or the eyesight of an eagle? When I looked before we recorded the podcast too, the votes were in, and they're like over 100 votes, and we were about 50%.
50%?
Yeah. 50% said tracking skills of a wolf, 50 said eyesight of an eagle.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Wolf for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Easy? Oh, I was wolf for sure.
Yeah.
Immediately, If I could have that nose, man, that would be magic.
Yeah.
Eyesight of an eagle sounds good though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eagle.
It is good. Yeah. It's just so many times where I wish I could be that bloodhound and track something to its feet,
Yeah.
Because you know roughly where it went, but you don't know exactly. There's no snow, it's thick bush.
Yeah.
That black spruce in the moss, oh man, that's just a nightmare sometimes, right?
Yeah.
You're looking down on a cut line here, and you can see a deer instantly. No binoculars needed.
Oh, I was gonna say I have
With your
binoculars.
supervision,
That's true. I mean, good eyesight is great.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get those hunting buddies who are even better at spotting deer than you are.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see I see a buck.
That's my dad. Every time I go hunting with him, he's like, "Get there." So,
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, that's usually because I'm driving. I'm like, you guys be watching, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Now you've got a funny moose hunt story.
A funny moose hunt story. Right. Okay, so I'm hunting moose. I've got a moose draw. In our area, it takes about 5 years, 4 to 5 years to get a moose draw.
Yours like 8.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So I finally get one. I'm hunting with my recurve in October in the ruts, in the rut or calling season. And I'm near the Athabasca River and in the bush, and I've got a bull moose answering. I'm calling, I'm grunting, I'm doing cow calls, I'm trying everything I can think of. I'm quiet and I'm waiting, and I can just hear him off to the side, and he's responding back. Oh, you know, oh. He's giving me little grunts back, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get him to show. And I was thinking wind, I was thinking everything. How can I get him so I can see him? And as this is playing out, I look to my left, and there's black bear coming towards us. He probably hears what we're doing. I'm not sure, but he's coming towards us, and he's kind of like inquisitive, right? And he's getting closer, and I'm like, oh, dang, this changes everything, right? And he gets to within about 30 meters of me, and then he stops. And he starts to look around, and I'm like, oh, he's going to see me. Then what do I do, right? So now in my mind, I'm trying to balance all these things. And no word of a lie, right at that moment, I had to take a raging dump. Like it just popped out of nowhere, right? Like, and it wasn't because the bear was scaring the crap out of me. It was just time, right? It was time, right? So I got a moose over here that's answering my calls I'm trying to hunt, and I got a bear 30 meters away who's looking at me. And I'm trying hard and clenching and trying not to shit my pants, right? And I'm like, oh, this is so weird, right? And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And the bear looks at me and he starts twisting his head from side to side. And he's like, what's this guy doing, right? And I'm like all clenched up. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? What do I do, right? And at some point, the bear goes, that's it, I'm out of here. And he turns around and he just bolts out of there, making a lot of noise. The moose hears that. He turns around and he bolts. And I'm still standing there clenching. And I'm like, I look over to my shoulder and there's a ruffed grouse right there. And I'm like, oh, well, I got a tag for grouse too. I'm going to try and get that guy, right? So I kind of squirm around and I still have to go really bad, right? And I'm like, I pull my arrow back or bow back and I let loose. And the arrow goes right over the grouse's back. And the grouse flies away, and I swear he wasn't 5 meters away, and my pants are on my ankles, and I'm doing the deposit like right now, man, right? So yeah, it was just the weirdest circumstance, right? So,
Bear, a moose, a grouse, and nature's. That's a great story.
Yeah. So I went home with nothing, right? But, yeah. So, anyways,
Wow. Now I wanted to talk canoeing because you and your wife do a ton of canoeing. You've got the whitewater rescue. You're certified with the canoeing. Talk us through. Well, first of all, you got a story about a capsized canoe on a log jam on your honeymoon.
Yep.
Let's hear that first, and,
sure.
and talk us through some of the canoeing that you're doing.
Great. Actually, I'm going to take a second and just give a shout out to my wife because the three of us are sitting here talking, but. I'd just like to acknowledge that she's no slouch. She's super skilled, highly skilled in a lot of places. So a lot of the stuff we do is together, right?
Yeah.
We teach so much of our stuff together, and really, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't have a TV show, wouldn't have all these things if she wasn't also part of that, right? So
fantastic. Yeah, that's great. You guys can do that together.
Really, really great. Yeah, and the story is on our honeymoon. If Colleen and I could wave our magic wand and go and do something together, it's going to be a canoe trip. Mm-hmm. That's our number one. And oftentimes it's as simple as going down the Athabasca, just the two of us, taking our time and relaxing and just enjoying the beauty of the river. So anyways, on our honeymoon, we go up to the Wild Hay at Rock Lake. We're staying at Rock Lake.
Right, yeah.
And we're running the Wild Hay. And it's fairly low, it's fairly bony. It can be anywhere from a sort of gentle class 2 up to quite difficult, depending on the water levels, right? So we ran it once, and it was like, that was awesome, that was great. And then the second time we went back to run it again, and I'm like, I'm going to capture video, right? Because I want video for our little YouTube channel or social media or whatever. And so this is where I get into trouble. I'm telling you stories about me getting into trouble here, but so I'm messing with the camera in the back of the canoe. And the Wild Hay at that time, you shouldn't really be messing with the camera. You should have your paddle in the water. Things come up quick and it changes quickly, right? We come to the same corner that we did the day before. and I'm trying to get the shot, and I'm messing around and not paying attention. And it was a must-make maneuver. It was on River Right. It turns to the right, and River Right, there's a little eddy. River Left, there's a big log jam, and the water's going under the log jam. So the correct way to do it is to let your boat turn and angle so that you can get through the eddy pool, and wait and wait and wait and pause, and then hit a few forward strokes and jet past the log jam. Well, because I'm screwing around with the camera, I'm not ready, right? And I'm too late. And I looked up, and it's like, oh, we're right there. And then I started shouting at Colleen, of course, which is what happens in the canoe, it seems. And I'm like, do a crossbow, and by then it's too late, right? So bam, right into the log jam. Then I made my second mistake. When you hit a log jam, you should roll into the log jam and leap onto the logs, right? Because if you turn the other way, the friction of the water rolls your canoe, and under you go, right? And that's what happened. We went under. I went under, and Colleen didn't, fortunately. So I went under the log jam in the canoe, and I had my foot trapped under the seat.
No.
And I was upside down under the water, and thinking this is it.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not a good place, and I can't tell how many moments were there. The time and space kind of just drifted away, but at one point I opened my eyes in that water, in the Wild Haze clear, beautiful water, and I could see through the water, and I could see logs, and I could see clouds right above it, right? Yeah. And I thought, I'm gonna die. And the thing that I did, which was kind of weird, I thought to myself, I'm ready to go. And I crossed my arms like this, and I'm like, I'm ready. And I think what happened is I relaxed, maybe not. But the next thing I knew, I popped up. And the canoe and I both came out from under the log jam. And I get up, and Colleen's already standing in the shallow water because she never got put under it. And she starts pulling the canoe up, and she's like, oh, wet, right? And I'm standing up, and instantly I go from, I'm relaxed, I'm going to die, take me, into, I'm such an idiot, that was so stupid, and I get all mad at myself. And she's like, what are you mad about? And I said, I almost died, I was under the log jam. And she's like, what do you mean? And all that went on behind her, right?
Yeah.
But, so my camera that I was messing with fell to the bottom of the river and filmed it. And it's on our YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it shows the camera going, blah, 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 it shows us going over, and then there's this picture looking up at the water, right? So, I mean, as a Paddle Canada instructor, I probably shouldn't be spreading stories about me going under log jams, but it happens. Stuff happens.
Hard-earned lessons, man.
And ever since then, like my approach to everything has really changed. The close call does that, right?
Totally.
Close call.
Yeah.
Close call does that. I've seen you have some close calls too.
Oh man, like I said, I used up my 9 lives 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But I have a friend, and he was guiding a canoe group, and he had a teenager die in a log jam with a life jacket, get sucked under. Like, it's no joke. It's super serious, and I always think about that because I've had some close calls with log jams. Yeah. Man, if you don't know what you're doing, even if you know what you're doing, sometimes the force is so crazy. I got a would you rather on this. Would you rather fall into freezing water, so let's say thin ice, or fall into powerful current?
Oh, powerful current.
You choose that, And George, why so?
Me too. Yeah, powerful currents.
Powerful current. And why?
Yeah, I'm such a skinny guy. I don't like that cold water, man. I'm just not the best at it. And I mean, I'm hoping that your question has the caveat that we have life jackets on, but if they don't, I don't know. Then I might answer differently, right? Because we were talking about canoeing, right? So
right. Yeah.
If it's without a life jacket, I wouldn't want to do either, right? But
I think I'm with you on that because the freezing water, and I've done both. If you seize up, Like you can't flick a lighter, you can't light a match, even
shivering.
You're shivering. Man, if you don't have help,
Yeah.
It's very hard to get out of that.
It's hard to get out, yeah. And the current, right? Like you've got a fighting chance, right? And it's likely not desperately cold. It's probably cold, but it's not.
Yeah.
Not likely winter, right?
Yeah.
But.
And as a skilled canoeist, do you prefer tandem canoeing or solo?
The wife's listening.
Well, the first thought in my head was if I want to make my wife still be happy with me, I'd say tandem. But personally, I do love the solo aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more challenging, but
Yeah.
if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're kneeling then?
Yeah. Yeah. I start getting my knees ready in February for the upcoming canoe season.
How do you do that?
Just exercise, lots of stretching.
Okay.
I know I'm going to be on my knees for
Yeah.
months, but yeah, I love the solo, but I only like it in short bursts, right? I like solo when I'm on a fun, exciting river.
Yeah.
But the tandem's pretty darn fun too.
Yeah.
My answer to that would be I love them both, right?
Yeah. Well, they say the two best ways to ruin a good marriage is to go canoeing together.
Yeah.
Or to do home renos.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the divorce boat.
Yes.
Well, that's what Rick Roback said when he was on here.
Yeah.
It was like there's a lot of fights going on.
Yeah.
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
It's challenging on a marriage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We do good. Like Colleen she's equally at home in the stern, so I don't mind taking the bow.
Yeah, she's skilled. She's skilled, yeah.
Yeah, so it's.
Do you got some trips planned for the summer then? Any rivers?
We do. We're gonna go back to. For a few years, we got so busy we couldn't do our anniversary trip, or anniversary every year. We go on the Athabasca River.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to doing that.
Nice. Sweet.
Yeah, we've got some courses, and so we do a lot of 3-day trips with school groups, and we just got off one just a week ago up in Lakeland Provincial Park.
Cool.
Yeah, taught a course last weekend, which was great, the Little River course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could get. So is foraging part of you're doing foraging? Is that part of your repertoire?
Well, when I look at Scott's stuff on social media, some of the things that I admire that you're doing is your stuff with fishing. I think I mentioned that at the start. I really like watching your foraging because you're clearly good at that. You're great with mushrooms, right? So I'm impressed with that. I would say I'm a mediocre forager.
Okay.
I know plants,
Yeah.
but I don't like go out there and go, I'm going foraging. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I have other things I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And also your primitive weapons and stuff is really cool, right? And I'd love to dibble and dabble in that more, but I'm doing it vicariously through your posts and watching you make those great fish hooks and bows and so.
Well,
so sorry, that's my answer is that I'm mediocre at foraging.
Dabble.
Well, Dale, hearing that coming from you, I'm just going to be glowing for a few days here. So that's
right on.
awesome. Yeah, but we do the foraging tip of the week.
Yeah, let's go.
And
Yeah.
This one is the cattail. So Dale, you will be very familiar with this. So I'm going to go through the cattail. I could talk about the cattail for well over a half hour, which I won't. But if I miss anything critical, Dale, you can fill me in.
Sure.
So the cattail is known as the supermarket of the swamp. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with food. A lot of people say, well, foraging plants taste like crap. They're bitter. They're horrible. I'm like, not all of them. The cattail, if you've ever pulled up these young shoots, they have the white asparagus type shoots here. You can cut them up, steam them, and eat them, with butter and garlic. Like we said, everything tastes great with butter and garlic. But they taste a bit like corn on the cob and cucumber, beans. Very delicious. There's a lot of countries in the world that still harvest these. People ask me, can you eat them raw? The answer is yes, but I don't, simply because cattails are growing in Giardia. So even though the cattail is edible, you might be getting beaver fever from the cattail just because it's absorbing the swamp water. Now, you can also eat the pollen heads. I'm holding up here the hot dog on a stick. But when they're young, those little corn cob heads are green. You can steam them. They taste like corn on the cob. You can also knock the pollen out and make flour out of them. The roots and rhizomes, even in pre-winter, you can dig them up and make flour out of them. And it's one of the best survival foods there is. So much that the cattail gives. You know,
Take a bite out of that thing, Scott.
yeah, no, not this one. Shelter, water, fire, food. So what I've got here is when you get these cattail heads, if you break them open, that's of course the seed head. And this downy, fluffy stuff is a fantastic flash tinder. I started fires with real flint and steel. We're not talking ferro rod, that's cheating. A real flint and steel, like the back of a saw blade on a piece of quartzite. If you work hard enough, you can get that lit. I've started many thousands of bow drill fires with the downy cattail head. But this downy stuff can also be used almost like a duck down. So if you're out in the bush, let's say you've got boots and you're freezing your toes, you should have brought 2 pairs of socks. You can stuff your boots with this. You could pad your jackets.
Yeah.
It's got some great use. People have even used it as absorbent bandage on wounds, which is really cool. And speaking of wounds, if you peel the fronds or the leaves of the cattail apart, I've got one here, you're going to find this really gooey aloe vera type of gel. And that stuff can be used just like aloe vera. Here it is. It's nice and slimy. And it can be used to treat bug bites, burns, stings, mosquito bites, that sort of things, right off the cattail. And then the leaves of the cattail make fantastic thatching. So I used to thatch my lean-tos as a teenager and try to sleep in the rain. And if you get this stuff, it's 100% waterproof.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to tuck it. George, I'm going to get you to smell that cattail because it has a nice fragrance.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of what it smells like. Now, the stalk of the cattail, if you peel that tall stalk, you get this nice arrow-like stalk. Some guys have made arrows with them. Anytime I've done them, I found them to be pretty weak. Yeah, I would not. There's way better arrows, but I have made, used the stalk and used the hand drill of the cattail, especially on tinder fungus, and got fire going. So, shoot, I'm probably forgetting a ton of stuff. Baskets, mats, thatching, we talked about. It's just offers so much. That's why they call it the supermarket of survival.
Yeah.
Just one plant that does so much. Dale, fill in the gaps. What did
Yeah,
I miss
no,
there?
you've hit a lot of them on the head.
Where's the best spot to find them?
Oh, yeah. The other thing, and this is very important, when you find cattails, you find water, even if it's down under. So let's say you're thirsting out in the bush, and even if cattails are growing, if you start digging under them and there's no running water, you will find the water table. So, but you'll probably have to purify it. Just realize that.
Right.
Yeah.
I like making cordage out of them.
Cordage, yes, of course. Yeah.
And one of the really great ones, those wings right there. You take those wings, and that stuff makes really great snare cord on the sides. So I can just twist up a little bit here, but when you get quite a few of them together, it just makes a really beautiful snare cord. Strong enough to take a rabbit if you're really good at weaving cordage or twisting cordage.
Yeah.
So, and then you can make bigger rope out of the drier leaves, but usually it's after they've lost their greenness, right, in the fall and through the winter. As the winter progresses, they get more deteriorated with the freeze thaw and stuff. But,
That's strong, George. I just did a quick spin on that. Try to rip it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cordage, yeah.
Yeah.
And people made cattail dolls and that. Mors Kochanski was big into that.
Yeah, I like making cattail dolls. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a cattail doll?
It's a doll made of cattails.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
my kids, they made Ninja Warriors, and you can make whatever you can think of, little figures out of them and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Blood axe, probably.
He'd be all over that, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the cattail, and really, it's interesting because people always come to me wanting to learn foraging. I'm like, you don't need to learn 500 different wild plants. You don't need to learn 50 different mushrooms. You can start with 5 great plants, right?
Yeah.
Cattail, absolutely. Like if I'm in the bush, I've lived off of cattails. I've eaten them. They're fantastic. They're good tasting.
Yeah.
I would remind you to please cook them so you don't get the giardia, because you can get giardia from eating them raw. So that would be my one caution there. But highly edible. People in Russia still eat them regularly. Lots of places in the world see them as regular table fare.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have lots of them in the boreal forest.
They're everywhere, right?
Yeah. They're a little harder to come by in the mountains, I guess, eh? But
They are.
Yeah.
We do find them in the low-lying valleys, and I always like it when I see cattails.
Oh yeah. There's so
And-
much to do with them.
And the tinder is fantastic. I mean, you can use fireweed or dandelion fluff we talked about, or balsam poplar, but the cattail heads are so good as a flash tinder, and they're made for fire, right?
Yeah, I never thought about jamming them into your boots too. If
Yeah,
you
The
go
fluffy
and-
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember outside of Canmore, I made a cattail and grass mattress that I wanted to take to a shelter, and
Oh, cool.
I had a little shelter hidden in the woods, just outside of town in Canmore.
Yeah.
And I had to cross Policeman's Creek to get to my shelter. And this is another story that makes me look stupid, actually, you know, but I think about it.
That's my whole book, dude. Lessons learned the hard way. That's
This was
humility.
back in the early days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This would have been in the 1990s. But anyways, I went to cross this log, and I ended up dropping the cattail mattress that I was going to sleep on in the water and got it soaked. And it was at freezing temperatures late in the fall, right? So by the time I got to my shelter, I had a frozen cattail bundle.
Oh boy.
Right? So then I had to warm it up by the fire. And I was warming it up, had it standing up, fire going, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just the bushcraft guy here.
Yeah.
And then they caught on fire, right? And then I'm putting them out, and you know, then it was just like, okay, this is how we learn things. So yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh wow.
For those who can't see, Dale just quickly
on the video.
did the reverse twist on some cattail to make some nice cordage.
Wow, eh?
Nice work.
Cool.
Proving that he does know his stuff. He's not just blowing smoke here tonight. I do have another question for you. Would you rather? Would you rather survive in a debris hut, which was, of course, the survival shelter of choice by Tom Brown?
Debris hut.
Or the lean-to, which was more on Mors Kochanski. He loved the lean-tos. Every night for a month. And you're going to ask me what time of year, so I'm going to say October.
What's a debris hut?
Dale, what's a debris hut?
It's like a forest debris sleeping bag. Yeah, so you put a small A-frame like coffin, just enough to slide into, and then you put soft bedding in there, and then heap a bunch of forest debris over top of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're filling it with like spruce.
Whatever you can find.
Yeah.
So it's leaves, it's spruce.
Dry cattails.
Spruce cone middens. Cattails would be wonderful for the bedding, especially.
Moss, leaves,
Yeah.
ferns.
Yeah. Oh boy, we could probably talk about that subject for a long time, and I've heard on this podcast you talk about it before, so I think I know what your answer is. But my preference would be the lean-to for sure.
Yep.
The debris huts are claustrophobic, and they're not as easy to build here in Alberta.
Yeah.
In the boreal forest as they would be down in the States, where they have those big deciduous forests and mega piles of leaves and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of energy expended to work up the debris enough to stay in October.
Yeah.
And when you crawl into them, your body at 37 degrees Celsius has to heat up that pile of debris just like a sleeping bag. When you first crawl in, it's cold.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's things that make it not so easy up here, I find. And I've tried putting rocks in there, hot rocks in there, and that helps. You warm up a rock, stick it in, and then the debris is getting warmer and stuff, and then you crawl in. But your question was for how long?
A month.
A month. Ooh.
What's
on the downside, the lean-to would be
Debris hut or lean-to and fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The downside is the lean-to that's a lot of
That's a lot
firewood
of
for a
firewood,
month,
right? Yeah.
which also has its toll. But you can move around and do things. The debris hut, you sleep in it and nothing else.
Yeah.
And that's another downside. It's just a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I prefer a shelter that you can live in and do stuff in, right? So, Yeah, if it was someplace that you could scrape up a debris hut in no time, then maybe, but Yeah, and I mean spiders crawling over your eyeballs in the middle of the night and stuff,
Mice, yeah.
Mice, yeah. After a month, all those things move in there, right?
Sure.
The critters move in, and yeah.
I'm probably doing lean-to and fire. I just love a fire.
Yeah.
For cheer, as you said, you can sit up, you can be making cordage, working on your throwing stick, whatever.
Yeah.
As you said, the debris hut to me is like a bit of a coffin or sleeping bag. Yeah. You're in there simply to sleep. If you've got a day of hard rain, that sucks.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, so it's interesting because Tom Brown was a big debris hut guy.
Big, yeah.
And
he said his words were, "It's the only shelter." That's how he'd say it.
And Mors was a big lean-to guy, and I've done the long fire and lean-to in -30 with my boys. No sleeping bags.
Yeah.
We were fine. Now I was feeding fire all night, but they were sleeping just like logs, right? So
get the three of you guys in the debris hut. That would be a cozy.
it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. Though. Yeah.
See, here's a Mors teaching too. The boreal forest, where I spend most of my time, has so much burnable wood. I mean, that's why it's on fire all the time,
Sure.
all summer long.
Yeah.
There's just such an amazing amount of that resource.
Yeah.
You can't walk very far without a massive amount of wood to burn. Right? And so to me, it's there for the taking, whereas trying to scrape up enough debris is difficult. It's not as much of a resource. Right?
Yeah.
So Mors always said, why do you mess around with small fires when you've got this forest full of wood that you can burn and stay warm,
Yeah. Well, we talked to Ray last week on the podcast. -50.
Yeah.
Right.
No sleeping bag, and
15-foot fire.
like if you get the fire big enough, you can sleep beside it. You just need a lot of wood.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, my chair is quite creaky here. I've noticed.
Oh, that's all right. Now you got a story about dancing with wolves. We need to hear that one. What's up
okay.
with that?
Sure, yeah. So that's close by here. That story occurs in the sand dunes just along the Athabasca River on the way to Jasper.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a number of years ago, probably around 2007 or something like that, in March was the time of year. And that period in time was fairly low precipitation, and the Athabasca River was really not very big there as it flowed through it. In March, the river slows down all winter. So the river wasn't huge. I was at a thing in Jasper driving home, and I thought, I've got some time. I'm going to stop and go in the sand dunes and do some tracking. I want to see animal tracks. So I parked my car just on the other side of the Snaring River and hopped out onto the sand dunes. Highway, sand dunes, Athabasca River, and bush. And I'm looking around at tracks and stuff, and I looked upstream, and within about 1 kilometer, I see a wolf pack coming down the river on the other side of the river. And I'm like, awesome! That's so great. How often do you see that, right? Yeah. And so I just sat down, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? How do I have a cool experience with these wolves? And my gut kept saying, go and sit by the river. And my mind kept saying, that's really stupid. That's right in the path of a wolf pack, right? And I'm like, my gut's like, no, go do it, right? So I went all the way across the open rock bar to the edge of the Athabasca River. And it was maybe, I would guess 20 meters long, the river, and it wasn't flowing that deep, right? It was small for whatever reason, something a wolf could cross for sure. And I sat there. I put my gloves down and I sat on them because it was cold and kind of wintry, and I waited. And they disappeared up into the woods, and they came out and they disappeared. And I remember feeling like you could almost feel the energy of them coming, hunting energy. Right? What it must feel like for animals when they suddenly go, oh no, the wolf pack's hunting.
Yeah.
They all go on alert, right?
Yeah.
The wolf's body language was, okay, we're hungry.
Yeah.
And they're coming, right?
Yeah,
they're coming. And I was like, ooh, they're in hunting mode. And so they disappeared up and they were gone. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they're going to come out. And sure as heck, they came out right across from me. So there's just me and the river between them. And one came out and he saw me and he put his head down and he kind of walked up slow, kind of stalking like that. And he stopped right at the river's edge and he stared across at me. And then 6 more did the same thing.
Wow.
And they were all side by side right at the edge of the river staring at me. And I was sitting there and I remember thinking, whoa, my vehicle's a long ways back, right?
Yeah.
And there was this like standoff, right? There's the wolves and me, and their eyes are like kind of this yellowy. Oh. Anyways, I'm like, what do I do? And I thought, I've got to break the tension with something. And the only thing I could think of was I'll sing, right? So I'm like, I have to make them sound like I'm a human, not an elk,
Right.
not a big beefsteak, right?
Yeah.
So I started singing, and this Cherokee water song came into my head, and so I went, Wichita, do ya, Wichita, do ya, hey. And I'm singing to them, right? And they start doing this kind of stuff, and their heads are moving up and down, and they started losing interest. And 3 or 4 of them, they started to back away and just kind of go about their business, sniffing and looking and smelling. And 3 stayed with their eyes fixed on me. And I stopped and I said, okay, I'm really scared. This is my words to them. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm really scared now. I'm just going to stand up slowly and back up now, and you guys just carry on, okay? That's what I actually said, right? And then I stood up and I'm putting my gloves on and I'm thinking, these are the weird thoughts that are in your head. I thought, well, if my hands are covered, at least they won't bite my hands when I'm fighting them. Right?
Liam Neeson.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I stood up and then I went, Wichita, and I started backing up. And then the last 3 wolves started losing interest too. And they all just started kind of moving about and sniffing, and pawing and stuff. And I'm like, they don't think I'm food. And then I started dancing. And I'm like, I'm freaking dancing with wolves, right? And I'm like, Wichita, and they were mucking about on that side. And I was like, I'm actually dancing with wolves, like
Kevin
the movie,
Costner,
right? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And anyways, they finally like, whatever, and they just lost interest and off they went. So, yeah, they actually got to dance with them. But
That's a great story. I wonder if it's the same pack. I met a pack in the very same close area, and I was solo hiking. Sun was going down. They were howling, and I thought, you know what? I can howl like a wolf. I started howling.
Nice.
Well, the whole pack came to me and was howling back, and I was down, surrounded by wolves as it was getting dark in the middle of nowhere in the winter, and suddenly I'm like, why the hell was I howling?
Why did I do this?
Yeah, because it was, like to them it was a rival pack, and they surrounded me, and we were howling back and forth, but they left me alone. It was a magical experience, right? Hair stands on end.
Yeah.
Might have been the same pack. Might have been the same pack. That's awesome.
You think the wolf packs in Jasper, they see thousands of people, right?
Sure.
So, right? So, I mean, I can't believe that they think it's unusual, right? So they see people every day, right?
Yeah, where you hear in Siberia, Russia, parts of Asia, wolves are a whole different ball game. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
One more story, man. I just love. First of all, I'm loving this, Dale. Like I could go on.
I know. I forgot we were doing a podcast. I was just hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, around the campfire. Chased by a bull moose. We need to hear that story before.
Oh, that's a quick one. Yeah. the one and only time chased by a bull moose. There was a time when I jogged. I didn't do it very well or for very long. And I went out for a jog in the morning, trying to get in shape and jogging the trails. And I saw a moose. And it's the fall, and I'm a hunter, and I like to hunt moose. And so, of course, I'm going to mess with it a bit, right? And there was a young bull, and it was off to the side, and I stopped running. And I'm like, hey there, moose, right? And I'm like, oh, I just wanted to see what it would do, right? And tempt it with some calls, right?
Yeah.
And it would kind of look at me. And then it would lose interest, and it would take 2 steps, and I'd go, oh, and try and call it back, right? And it would stop, and it would look, right, like they do, right? And after a while, I'm getting bored of this, right? And I'm like, well, I got to get going. I got to get back to work and start my day. And I turn around and I start running. And sure as heck, it chases me, right? So I look behind me, and it's kind of coming down the trail right behind me. And I'm like, oh no, right? And I'm running, deciduous forest, mostly aspen. And there's one spruce tree up ahead that I knew about, a nice big one. Mm-hmm. And I ran straight for it. I'm like, ah! And I just put myself on the other side of it. So it was kind of cat and mouse. And, you know, it was looking this way, and I'd look the other, and I just kept the tree between me and it. And eventually it lost interest.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know what was going through its mind. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I mean, we call them swamp donkeys for a reason. Sometimes they behave kind of funny, but.
And it's funny when you're being chased, because I've been chased up a tree by a wild boar.
You have, yeah.
And,
Okay, yeah.
You turn into primate, like you're back Stone Age, man. You're up the tree and for your life, you know. Yeah. Those instincts kick in.
Yeah. Right on.
That's a great story.
Yeah. Cool.
What's on the bucket list for you, Dale? You got any like wilderness skills you want to learn? You're working on?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I really want to get good at flint napping.
Okay.
And it's like tracking. To get good at it, it's an investment. You know, you can make little bird points out of your wattles and little chunks or flakes and stuff. But I want to be able to start the process with a big chunk of rock and take it down and make lots of usable stuff in a good systematic way. That's, you know, and even get it to where it could be museum replicas. I'd like to make bows. Mm-hmm. I've seen some of the posts you've put out on making bows. That's always been one that I've wanted to do is to make a bow. But that dream is wavering as I get older and have a harder time pulling the bows back.
Yeah. Well, you're a traditional bow hunter, so I mean, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Those two things.
The challenge and I'm a flint napper, I'm not an expert. Like, I look at some of these guys and they can make the Danish daggers and stuff.
Yeah.
If you've never seen a Danish dagger, George, look it up. It'll blow your mind. The Vikings had a full dagger made out of flint, the whole hilt, blade, everything. So the skill of some of these flint nappers is out of this world. I can make a decent stone point that could kill a deer. I can make a lateral point, but you're right. Like, you can take this to the next level, right? Yeah. Some of these guys are just so amazingly skilled. The tough thing in Alberta, it's hard to find good stone. Yeah. So I'm usually using toilet bowls, bottom of beer bottles. I scrounge for good quartzite and that sort of thing, but it's tough. And a lot of Albertan and indigenous tribes would trade with people that have obsidian or chert or that sort of thing.
Bowls.
Yeah.
Toilet bowls, yeah. So they call it Johnstone,
In my search on that, I've discovered that there's a Peace River chert.
Yeah.
That's up by what's north of Dawson
Fort St.
John, up there in the Peace River Valley. Some of it's been flooded by the dam. It's up there, but there is a Peace River chert that they found up there. By Fort McMurray, there is an old sandstone that was quarryable, but it was still mediocre at best. Mm-hmm. And then by a town called Consort, there's actually a place where they found some pebble chert on the surface, but it's a small quantity. Yeah. And they've got a little museum there that I'd like to go visit. But it's been a lot of effort digging up and buying books and papers, archaeological papers, from the universities in Western Canada, trying to find where there is some. And you're right, like it's
sparse.
just difficult. It's sparse is the right word.
There's two more. There's Banff Churt, which
Yes.
would be in the park, which you can't take.
Yeah.
And then Shunda Creek Churt, which
Yes.
is in the David Thompson corridor.
Yeah.
I haven't found the mother lode yet, but
Yeah.
it is there somewhere.
Yeah.
Knife River Flint. You seen
Yeah.
that stuff? Beautiful. I've worked with that. That's like root beer glass from the Dakotas.
Yeah, from the Dakotas.
Yeah, and then of course obsidian from Yellowstone. But it just proves that these indigenous tribes were trading right across the whole continent.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
For thousands of years. Yeah.
So I've got 200 pounds of obsidian.
What?
And you're going to say, how'd you get that? Yeah, so, and that, it came to me, gifted to me from Randy and Lori. Randy and Lori Brusma of Karamat Wilderness Ways. Thank you, Randy and Lori. They're probably listening to this podcast. So, so the other piece of that is I'd like to get good at it, but I'd like to be able to teach it well too.
Yeah.
Because I just like to be able to teach it. I like teaching, right? Like my wife and I both really get a lot out of teaching people, so I'd like to teach it. But this summer in August, we're doing the Mossy Bog Rendezvous, which is formerly the Rat Route Rendezvous. Thank you again, Randy and Lori. And so we'll see. We might bring out that 200 pounds of obsidian, but we'll see. And there's like big pieces like this.
That's gold, man.
I know, right? Yeah. So, and I'm scared because I want to be good enough to work it well and not just create a bunch of,
rubble.
Yeah.
I would say if people are starting out, bring out the toilet bowl first.
Yeah, that's right. Use
save the obsidian.
What do they say? Don't cast your pearls before the swine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's great. Mossy Bog, you're hosting that. So Rat Root was huge, and Mossy Bog is being hosted. Before we close, we should also talk about the Global Bushcraft Convention, 2028. So we're talking the most world-renowned bushcrafters. I was part of the 2019 group, and we had Les Stroud there, the Survivor Man. And he stood up on his keynote address. His first words was, "I speak in front of tens of thousands of people, and I've never been more nervous in my life because there's people in this room who know more than I do." And I thought, good on you to recognize and have the humility, because there were people in that room that just know amazing stuff. So you're part of the 2028 Global Bushcraft Convention, and potentially might come to this part of the world, is what I hear.
We'll see. The organizing committee's just getting organized.
Yeah.
And we've started the initial planning and stuff, and we're excited. Alberta's a rare place.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. I think Scott is aware of that. But in Alberta, there's a high quantity of super skilled bushcraft survival instructors, professional instructors.
On a world-class level.
On a world-class level, there really is. And what's really wonderful is that most of them are really willing to share and collaborate and help and stuff, right? And so because of that, we put together a really strong partnership, I guess, with the Global Bushcraft Symposium. Everybody buys in fully and jumps in with both feet. We all want to be successful and stuff. So, and we'll likely attract people from all over the world.
Sweden, the United Kingdom, all over the place. Yeah, it's great. Germany. Yeah.
And through the GBS, I know Colleen and I have made some wonderful friends overseas, and they're doing amazing stuff overseas. Lots of them are on the Alone Show.
Right.
Lots of them work behind the scenes in the Alone Show. Like it's, so
that's cool.
It's a neat thing, for those of us crazy nuts who love this
We're
stuff,
obsessed with it. Yeah.
We're obsessed with it, right?
What goes on at the convention then? Like, is it you guys are teaching each other skills then? Like, there's a bunch of different symposiums, or?
So there's been 3 of them so far, and a 4th one in Sweden in 1995. I might be wrong on that date, but around 1995. And it's basically a collection of instructors getting together and sharing their best. Right?
Cool.
Sharing what they've discovered, sharing what works, sharing how they teach.
Yeah.
And each one usually has an underlying theme, in 2019, it was skills in context. So rather than just barking out a bunch of crap, skills in context. You need to, if you're going to teach a skill, you got to look at the source of where it came from, who it came from, dig deep into its background and its history, and teach it fully and well, and give credit to those who deserve the credit, right? You teach a skill, you teach it in context. You don't just bark it out and, you know, just do things haphazard, which is unfortunately what is a lot of stuff that's out there.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was the theme there. So each one has a little different theme. So yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, time is going by, right? I don't even know how long we've been talking. It's been quite a while.
Oh no, it's good. But let me say, if the 2028 Global Bushcraft Convention comes here, to me it's like the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a good
coming
way.
to the Northern Rockies. Like, it's huge. That level of expertise worldwide. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to get you in there for sure.
Oh,
I think your book is.
You heard it here first.
I think your book is going to be wildly, radically cool and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm really happy that you're doing this, and I can't wait to read through it. So
right on.
very cool, very cool. And I would put in a request before we close. I really want to go fishing with you, and I really want to go hunting with you.
Let's do it.
I wanted to since we met.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Because I think we could just hang out and be like so many people in the business. We just have a million things to talk about.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I'd like to spend a night around the campfire and listen to the stories we could tell. So it'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go on Amazon tonight, buy the tracker.
Yes.
And Animal Tracks in Alberta on the list.
Mors Kochanski's Northern Bushcraft.
Right. Get that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale, so you've got a YouTube channel, Nature Alive Adventures. Wild TV, June 29th, 72 Hours to Survive.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward to that. That's going to be good. Anywhere else people can reach out to you, Dale?
We're on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll link
YouTube,
that in
Instagram,
the comments.
Facebook, and
Nature Alive.
our website. Everything is Nature Alive.
Nature Alive.
Yeah. Nature Alive Adventures. So
beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean we're busy, right? We're so busy. I don't know if we can take on more, but we'll see. It's taken a lot of years to get to a place where we can do this full time, but
Fantastic.
it's finally happened. Someone asked me the other day. They said, "Boy, you're living the dream." And I said, "Yeah, the dream is tiring, though."
Well, that's just it, right? And we had that with Marshall Bushcraft too. We had him on a few weeks ago. And Marshall, if you're listening, shout out to you. But he was saying there's a balance between teaching the stuff and enjoying it. And I find the same. Like, you gotta still get out there for yourself.
You need 3 hours to pretend your gear to touch a grouse. You know? It's like, I got emails to answer and stuff, but I do want to go out and do this.
Feed the soul. You got to feed your soul.
Yeah. My wife and I are trying to carve that time out because we found we've been racing too hard. So.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for coming out, Dale. This is
great.
Yeah.
Great honor to have you
here.
Sure,
fun. Yeah, it's great to be here. So. Awesome. Keep up the good work. Like, this is awesome what you're doing. Really
it's fun. That's why we do it.
It really is. Yeah. No, and you do a good job of it and stuff. I've listened to most of the podcasts. Like,
cool. Yeah.
Like, for sure. So yeah, it's great. Cool.
Right. We'll have the video up too. So if you're listening to this, you can watch it on YouTube as well. And thanks everyone that's tuning in. It's blowing up. The stats are just it's a steep mountain going up right now, so it's good to see. Dale, Scott, okay, it's been good. Okay, till next week. Stay wild.